Overtime! Well, it's a cold day here at Overtime Arcade. It's about 20 degrees outside, and it's been cold all week. I've been dreading coming out to the garage. You can see I'm all bundled up because my garage is not heated, and it gets cold out here. Now, you know, people have different definitions of cold, and, you know, the way I grew up in New England where I know what cold is like, and this isn't that cold, but it's definitely cold for here in Virginia. We've got 7 inches of snow out on the ground outside between 2 storms, and the whole place is kind of like shut down. But it's been really, really cold out here, and I don't like working out in the garage when it's 20 degrees outside. I've got the space heater going, which barely helps. It helps if I'm like standing right in front of it. And yeah, the garage is up into the 30s, maybe almost 40 degrees, so it's a little bit better, but I don't want to spend, you know, a ton of time out here. Like I said, I've been avoiding coming out to the garage all week. And it's Saturday, and I just started filming, so we're going to do something pretty easy, pretty basic. I want to spend a little bit of time with this Sly Spy. So this is a Data East game. You've probably seen this before. I did a pickup video on this before. And as you can see, the game is working. Needs a little bit of TLC. So this is a Data East game, kind of in the same vein as like Rolling Thunder or that sort of thing. A little bit like Bad Dudes, except it's a one-player game. You basically play as a spy, kind of like James Bond, and you've got a gun, and you're basically trying to kill all the bad guys and get to the end and save the president or something like that. Very much a ripoff of James Bond 007. I think they were intending to get the license. Data East was intending to get the license, but never actually did. And so, you know, the character is basically James Bond, except he's got an American flag parachute instead of a British Union Jack parachute. But all the bosses are like Jaws and Odd Job and that sort of thing. So very much a 007 ripoff. And I believe this is technically a dedicated Data East cabinet. Very similar to the ones like Ghostbusters that you might see that have like the RoboCop that have the curved marquee. This is a flat marquee. It's got, you know, all Data East markings. Probably manufactured by Dynamo, but a factory sort of dedicated cabinet, and I want to get it touched up just a little bit. Now, I don't want to put a ton of time or money or effort into this. This is not a particularly valuable game. There's one, I think in Ohio, that's been sitting for sale on Facebook Marketplace for months for $500 and hasn't sold. So I don't really want to put a ton of money or effort into this. The cabinet is, you know, I would say it's maybe a C. You know, the artwork, kind of whatever. I don't want to put a ton of effort into this, but in this video, we'll do a little bit of stuff to this cabinet and see if we can't spruce it up just a little bit. Let's come in a little bit closer here and sort of show you what I'm talking about. So there's a few things that I would like to do to this cabinet. The joystick has kind of got the ball top sort of ripped off, broken, so we're going to get that all fixed up. You know, the control panel overlay is not in perfect condition. It's got some pieces missing. And I think there are reproductions or you know, NOS, new old stock out there, but I'm not going to do that because I got this cabinet for free. It really isn't worth much, so I don't want to do a crazy amount to it. The monitor is working. This is a K7000 of some variety. This sort of scrolling bar only appears on the camera. It's a camera trick from refresh rate. It's not actually visible to the human eye. But I think we can improve this monitor a little bit. We'll do some adjustments. Maybe we'll do a cap kit. I don't really want to. There's the president in front of the White House there. They're about to get captured by terrorists, the Council for World Domination. And then, of course, Director Sessions says, don't use drugs. There we go. So, yeah, you see sort of the distortion down there. Maybe we do need to do a cap kit. We can dial this in a little bit better and sort of get the geometry right and whatever, but yeah. And this cardboard bezel, or really it's a paper bezel behind this plastic plexi. It's a little bit stained, a little bit gunked up. And there is one out there for sale. I think there's repros, and there is one, a used one out there I've seen for sale. Again, I'm gonna just try to sort of maybe iron this out a little bit to make it a little bit flatter. You see it's kind of like, because it's crinkled up here, it's kind of not extending all the way down to the bottom. So maybe we'll break out the iron and try to improve that. Up here at the top, This marquee has definitely seen better days. And when the marquee light is out, this whole sort of area is all like burnt and yeah, not so good. Basically, because it has two incandescent bulbs, Data East cheaped out on the marquee light. It's not a fluorescent fixture. It's just two incandescent bulb sort of sockets, and those old school incandescent bulbs would just cook the I don't know, the pigment or whatever in the marquee and sort of toast it like this. Yeah, I've got two LED bulbs in that should hopefully be a little bit cooler, but the damage has been done. I actually went and tried to fix this a little bit. Let me cut away and show you what I tried to do that. It was a bit of an experiment. So let's go take a look at what I tried to do earlier in the week when it was bone cold out in the garage. Hey guys, let me show you something real quick. I was not planning on recording this. I was kind of just messing around, doing a bit of an experiment, and I still don't know if this is going to work or not. This is the marquee from my Sly Spy cabinet. You've seen this before. The thing was all, I don't know, melted or burnt up or whatever from the, this, I think this is the original kind of setup that they used in this dedicated Data East, manufactured by Dynamo cabinet. They had two incandescent bulbs there right in the middle, and it really, torched the, especially the middle of this marquee. You can see at the top where it's kind of poking out, but I was kind of just messing with it. None of my normal reproduction artwork places make anything for Sly Spy, so figured I would do an experiment to see if I could recover this thing at all. And I don't know if it's working yet, but I've been trying a couple things. This is like some sort of decal mounted onto plexiglass, and you can see up at the top where it isn't as faded. And anyway, this all was covered up as dark as this, and I've been trying a bunch of different things, Novus and Magic Eraser and all kinds of stuff. But I've been sanding it with my random orbital sander. Tried 320 grit, that really wasn't doing anything. 220 grit, I can see blue coming in. So I'm going to keep messing with this. I'll probably end up burning all the way through and destroying it. But I wanted to give it the old college try. And I'm kind of going to focus here and see how good I can get this part. And then maybe work on the rest. But right now, 220 grit, dry sandpaper. Every once in a while I throw some spray away glass cleaner on to kind of clean it up. But this might actually work. So let me go work on this some more and see how good I can get it. Okay, update. Mere moments later, maybe with 10 seconds more sanding, and I burned all the way through the art down to some sort of white layer, which is on the back here to kind of even out the light. But yeah, burned right through the artwork. So I guess it was the lowest level was least sort of scorched or burnt up or whatever. But yeah, so this marquee is trash, but I figured I'd try. It was a little bit promising. I was seeing distinct colors here. I mean, this whole thing was as dark as it was on the sides. But yeah, I'll chalk this up as a loss, which is fine. So back to the drawing board, I guess. So yeah, as you can see, didn't come out all that great. You can kind of see where it was getting better around here in the middle, but this thing is just too far gone. None of my usual go-to reproduction art workshops manufacture this, so I put some feelers out. We'll see if anyone is able to hook me up with something there, but if you've got a good quality Sly Spy marquee hanging out there, let me know. I might be interested in buying that from you, but we'll live with this right now. And then on the sides of the cabinet, we've got this faded generic Data East sidear, and there's some dings and scuffs and whatever, but I'm really not going to pay that much attention. There's some tape over this coin reject button for some reason. We'll take a look at that. The other side is, basically the same sun-faded Data East side art decals. I think this side might be a little bit better, but they're really kind of the same. T-molding is sort of poking out in a couple spots. There's a power switch up on top that took me a while to find when I first got this cabinet. And yeah, the biggest issue, however, with the cabinet itself is right here. As you can see, this particle board cabinet has swollen and expanded right here. So it's poking out maybe, 2 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters on this side, or 1 or 2 millimeters on that side, poking well beyond the T-molding here. And what's interesting is if you come all the way down to the bottom, you really don't see that. You know, the bottom's a little bit dinged up. There's like this plastic sort of trim piece along the front and both sides that I might have to resecure. But the bottom is not swollen. So this cabinet wasn't like sitting in water or anything. But right here by the side of the control panel, you can see there's a little bit of you know, water damage behind the laminate or vinyl or whatever this is. So my theory is that somebody had a drink on the control panel and it spilled and it ran down the side of the cabinet, and the particle board absorbed it and kind of, you know, messed it up. And I don't really want to fix this. I mean, you know, if I really wanted to, I'd probably take everything off, sand it down, you know, use wood hardener and whatever, but then I'd have to redo all of the side, you know, laminate or paint or vinyl or something, and I just don't want to do that because this cabinet isn't worth that much, right? This is a JAMA cabinet, this is a dynamo, so this sort of cut corner control panel will sort of open up on a hinge, and you can slide a tray out that has the PCB and the power supply and all that sort of stuff. So it's relatively easy and convenient to convert this thing, and I think you can rotate this monitor too. But again, so this thing is working. It's just, you know, definitely seen better days. So why don't we do those things in this episode? We'll repair / replace the joystick. We'll see if we can, you know, iron out this, you know, cardboard or paper bezel. We'll see if we can dial in or maybe throw a cap kit onto that K7000 monitor. And then we'll be in a little bit better shape. I probably want to clean up the buttons too, because some of them are a bit sticky. But yeah, just some basic maintenance here. Just to make this game a little bit more playable. So why don't we get set up on the tripod and we can start digging into this cabinet and seeing what work we have cut out for us. All right, sorry I had to cut away there for a moment. The FedEx truck pulled up. I've been ordering some laminate samples for the Frogger and Kubert cabinets, so those just got delivered. So things that are coming. I haven't let this cold weather affect me. You know, there's things I can do in the house in the warmth, ordering parts and researching stuff. Anyway, so Sly Spy cabinet is turned off, and as you can see how bad this Marquee is when it's not backlit. So that's definitely got to go. So let's open up this control panel and see what's going on inside. You know, and people keep telling me that I should do more kind of basic stuff, right? I don't, you know, for me, the kind of stuff I do, I don't think is particularly advanced. There's a lot of other folks out there. Oh, where is this other latch? Like, for example, Sean from Classic Arcade Repairs and Mike from Mike's Amateur Arcade Monitor Repair that do much, much, much more advanced stuff than I do. But this will be something really, really basic. So, you know, every cabinet is different, but a lot of cabinets allow you to take off the control panel by reaching in through the coin door, opening up the coin door, and reaching around until you find latches. There are these latches that typically there's two, one on each side, either grabbing the sides of the cabinet, the inside of the sides of the cabinet, or in this case, I think they grab up front. You unlatch them, and either the control panel will come off, or like with this one, it's got a hinge, and it'll rotate down. So hopefully you can see that on the camera. We've got these two latches that I undid that were right here that hold on to the control panel, and yeah, this whole thing hinges and rolls down. We've got our joystick in the middle and 6 different buttons. I think I want to clean these buttons just because they're all, I don't know, gunked up a little bit, and I don't really love, like, the joystick itself doesn't feel all that great. I'm going to pull these two things off. These have been sitting on the joystick since I got the cabinet, and I don't think they are supposed to be part of the joystick. There's this green rubber ring of some sort and this metal, maybe steel ring right here. I don't think these are part of the of the joystick. Previous owner just tossed them on for whatever reason, and now we should be able to pull out our sled or our tray with our electronics, and I'll bring the tripod over here and let you take a closer look at what I'm seeing while I do this. All right, so this is a little bit different than the Superman cabinet. So the Superman is a Dynamo HS7, which is relatively uncommon, but you've seen me open that up a few times on this channel. I forget what kind of dynamo this would be if it wasn't a dedicated Sly Spy, like a HS2 or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't really, you know, these are later games than what I typically go for, so I'm not super familiar. Let me actually take this stuff off just because it'll slide relatively easily. There is a piece of plexi here, and this bezel is like stuck to it, so we'll have to pull that off without damaging or avoiding damaging the artwork if we can. So here we go. We have access to our screen here. There is this sort of MDF or particle board bezel that goes around. That's pretty standard. The Superman has that. We've got this blackout cardboard bezel here just to prevent sort of bleed of the monitor. This probably needs to be cleaned up, maybe painted. Oh, it's all dirty and gross. And there is our screen right here. This has to be cleaned. So we'll do that in a couple of minutes, and that's often something you want to do. Actually, let me do that right now. And I'll relatch the control panel just so I don't get anything dripping onto the monitor. You never really want to dial in a monitor or work on it or anything like that. Just do one latch for now until you've got a nice clean, can't even see what I'm talking about, a nice clean screen, because often something that you might think is, you know, it being out of focus or whatever is actually just the tube, the glass of the screen of the monitor being dirty. So we'll give this a quick little clean here. I like to use this, this glass cleaner right here. Instead of Windex, I like this Sprayway foaming glass cleaner. This stuff is cheap. You can get, you know, cans of it for like $1.99 at Ace Hardware, or I've seen it at the grocery store or Home Depot or what have you. I like that it, you know, sort of, you know, foams up. It doesn't run as much as like a liquid glass cleaner, like a Windex or whatever. Yeah, wipe this down really well. Probably do it twice. I can see a lot of dust already coming off. Okay, the tube is about as clean as I'm going to get it for now without going crazy. So let's open the control panel back up again. All right, and I only did one latch, so pull this down. And there we go. So we've got this tray that we can pull out that's got our power supply and transformer and our JAMA board down there. And unlike the Superman, there are a couple of latches here that I need to undo so that this thing becomes free. And then we should be able to just pull it out like this, and hopefully no wires get tangled or anything. All right. And then it'll go like that. All right, so good. Okay, so yeah, you can see this, and we've got our, all right, switching power supply. We've got our isolation transformer, line filter, fuse. We've got our remote board for our monitor right there, and here is our JAMA PCB. It says data east. And yeah, I think we're in good shape. On the remote board, not all the pots are popular. We got black level, vertical position, vertical size, horizontal position. So we can't adjust the colors or anything. But you know what I want to do? I'm going to power this up, and we can adjust these controls. And I'll double check the voltage and make sure we're dialed in okay. You know, it's always a good idea to start by making sure your power is correct. So we'll come down here so you can see what's going on. You'll be able to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the cabinet. And we are on. And I'm going to start by checking the voltage on my switching power supply. And just to make sure, I mean, the game is working, so that should be fine. But I do want to make sure, you can see it's running on the screen over there. I want to make sure that everything sort of looks good. I don't know if there's a better angle for you to be able to see what I'm doing here. Maybe that. So on the back of this switching power supply, there are a bunch of lugs. Down at the bottom, we have the two AC inputs. We have the ground to connect it to earth ground. And this is going to be a weird angle. We'll put it on DC volts. And then the power supply, these power supplies generally produce +5, -5, and +12. And then it has a ground. All three of those are populated, so I'm guessing this game does use all three voltages. So I've got my multimeter here, I've got it set to DC volts, and we'll come in and untangle my leads here. We'll start with our +5, so I've got my black lead on the ground essentially, and red on that, and that's 5.19, so that's not bad. A little high, but you're going to lose some voltage coming to the board. Probably don't need to test it on the board, although let's see, I actually can do that relatively easily like this. And on the board we've got 4.9 actually, so I could even turn that up just a tiny bit. Let me grab a adjustment tool for that, so I can do this with one hand. All right, you know, they say really technically I should be testing it on testing it on a chip, but I'm being lazy and don't really want to do that. So I'm putting my, right on the edge connector. This JAMA harness is nice that it's labeled component side, and it's got all of the connections labeled. So I'm grabbing ground right there. I'm grabbing 5 volts right there. And I'm actually 5.06 now, so I don't need to adjust that. Let me check my -5. -5 is -5.05, which is good. And +12 is 11.95. So I'm not going to touch this thing at all. I think that looks great. All my voltages are dialed in. I can't remember if I did this already. I might have done this before. That's something that I do whenever I buy games, is you always want to test that power supply, but figured I'd show it to you here. So we don't need to adjust anything. Power looks good, tested on at least on the edge connector, if not the chips. So let's come around here. Let me turn off the house lights. It's not really going to make a difference because it's light outside. But we'll see if we can adjust the black level a little bit and the geometry. So this is the black level pot on the remote board. There we go. Ooh, that looks nice and better. Let's see, vertical position, it's kind of fine. Horizontal position definitely needs to be adjusted. That's the wrong way. That's really the wrong way. That looks better. Vertical position can probably come up a little bit. How's that look? I'd say pretty good. I think I can still come, maybe the vertical size needs to be adjusted. We still have this wave at the bottom, so maybe that, to me, suggests we need a bit of a cap kit, but all the colors are there. It's a little bit out of focus. Let's do this. Let's take off the back door. So we'll come around. I'll show you that. All right. There is no lock on the back door right now. I've just got a screw over here. Is there one down here as well? No, I think it's just this one screw. Not an uncommon thing for owners or operators, and that screw is like loose. To replace a lock with a just a screw to hold the back door on. And there we go. So here's our monitor. This is a Wells Gardner. Let's see. It's a K7000 definitely, but I thought I saw a label before. Oh, there it is right there. This says 19K7611. So this is a K7000 monitor. We're going to adjust the focus a little bit to see if that helps us at all, or maybe we need a new flyback. Yeah, this horizontal width is way, way, way too wide. So we're going to have to fix that. I've got my handy dandy monitor mirror from Delusionals Arcade. Thank you, Dell, for sending this to me. I think he's still making these and selling these if you're interested in getting one for yourself. we'll get this set up here so I can take a look at what's going on the monitor from the back of the cabinet. All right, I've got the monitor, or the mirror set up so I can see the monitor. Let me grab a flashlight. Most monitors have a flyback with two pots. Generally, one is screen and one is focus. And there's my focus pot right there. And I'm going to very carefully reach in and try to dial in this focus pot. Part of the issue is the screen is moving. All right, that's about as good as I can get it without maybe we have a bit of a degauss issue where the monitor gets magnetized. All right, and we still have this waviness at the bottom. So kind of feeling like we're going to need to do a cap kit. So yeah, here's the rest of what's going on with this monitor. I got the chassis right here, which is the PCB with all the electronics on it. So generally most monitors are set up the same way, although there are some exceptions. You have a chassis, which is a PCB with a lot of electronics on it, tons of wires. The tube is the big glass, teardrop shaped thing that you look at. The flyback generates the high voltage and has a anode wire that goes to the suction cup looking thing on the back of the tube. You have a smaller PCB with some other electronics called the neck board that plugs into the neck on the back. This looks like a skinny neck K7000. You have these copper windings kind of in a cone shape that go on the neck itself, wrap around the neck. That's called the yoke, and lots of wires connecting everything together. Yeah, this thing doesn't look like it's ever had a cap kit, so we might end up doing that. Maybe, maybe not today. I don't know. I want to get this video out quickly. Down to the bottom of the cabinet, what do we got? We've got a coin counter that is like loose, just hanging out. We've got an extra sticker. We've got a straw, probably somebody was trying to use that to get free credits. And yeah, that's basically what we've got going on back here. Oh, we've got a Dynamo sticker that says serial number 307, model number 020800900. And talking to Don Panetta on Clav, who's an expert of Dynamo cabinets and other various cabinet identification marks, he's pretty sure this is a dedicated, Dynamo built as a dedicated Sly Spy on contract for Data East, so it's actually relatively clean on the inside. And yeah, why don't we go and rebuild the joystick while I decide if I want to do a cap kit today or not. Okay, after fussing with it for a bit, this is as good as I could get the monitor dialed in without a cap kit. There are a little bit of geometry issues. I don't know if the focus is as good as it could be, especially in the corners. And I can barely get the golden gun sort of text to fit onto the screen. And that's with it maxed out on all of the geometry adjustments. And you can see part of the reticle around the weapon select is off the screen. And it doesn't seem to be, it's not centered, right? So like the 10 is cut off over here. Anyway, so I think we probably will need to do a cap kit on this thing at some point. And maybe I will do it today, but before I do that, and you can see some of that red color isn't perfect, indicating a possible, needs to be degaussed, but, or degaussed, right? So I think what I want to do is let's turn off the game and let's slide this tray in, at least to, well, actually, let's slide it all the way in, like so. And once you get to that point, it's on a sort of slot. And just make sure we don't get anything caught. And there we go. Put our latches back on. Okay. All right, I'm actually going to unplug the cabinet. Forgot to do that. But yeah, now what I want to do is turn my attention to this joystick here. So this is a Coin Controls joystick. It has what's referred to as a integrated dust washer. There isn't a separate dust washer here. It's all part of the same joystick. And it's not like the ball top was removed. If you look closely, this plastic is broken. So somebody broke off the plastic that goes on top of this. Now, fortunately, I actually have an exact replacement right here. You can even see right there where it says coin controls, if it'll focus. There we go, right there, coin controls. And I'm trying to debate whether or not I want to just remove the whole thing and put this in. I think that's what I'm going to do, just because the controls, they're not soldered on. They're all just connected with these sort of quick connects. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And looking closely, let's see. Want to make sure the way I put it in is correct. So let me do something real quick. I'm going to clean this thing because it's a bit dirty, and I'm going to take a picture or write down which wires go where so I don't screw up the, the controls. So let me go and do that. I'll write that down, and then I'll be ready to swap this in. Okay, I got the new joystick, or the replacement joystick, cleaned up well enough, and I wrote down where all of these wires should go. So I'm just going to disconnect them. And each of these has, so this is a micro switch joystick. I think this is kind of similar to the joystick that Data East used in Karate Champ, if I'm not mistaken. Some of these quick connects can be stubborn. All right, so it's a micro switch joystick. There's 4 switches, 4 up, down, left, and right, although it allows you to move in 8 directions because there isn't a restrictor, so you can actuate 2 switches at a time to kind of go on the diagonals. And there are these disconnects, quick disconnects, to plug in these wires. Each micro switch has a different color signal wire, so the PCB knows which direction is being pressed. There we go. And a ground, because basically, you know, when the switch is closed, when the switch is pressed, it closes a circuit connecting that signal wire to ground, and the PCB sees that and knows that you are pushing the joystick in that direction. And one last one. It's all the way down here, and I don't want to pull the wires out of the disconnect. There we go. So I think we are free and clear there. And like I said, I did write down where all of those different wires should go. And so now I've got 4 carriage bolts here. Oh no, these are studs on the metal control panel. So we'll remove these Keps nuts, which is like a nut with a little star washer built into that. That's technically called a Keps nut. And this is a 3/8 nut driver that can't quite fit in all the way like that. Let's see if I can do this with just without the handle. And I just, so it's Saturday. There we go. And Saturday afternoon, I should already have this video out for Overtime Arcade channel members. Oops. It'll be out on Sunday for, you know, the public, but I try to get, one of the perks I offer to Overtime Arcade channel members is early access to all new videos. Also, they get access to a monthly members-only live stream that we'll probably do in the next week or so for January, and access to our private members-only Discord, which is really a lot of fun. It's only $1.99 a month, so check it out. Click on the join button down below if you're interested in learning more about that. But anyway, I need to get this video done for them. But I just had an interesting conversation with somebody that's selling a couple of arcade machines, and I got hooked up by my buddy Mark, who is he owns Back to the Media, which is a used record and video game and comic book store in Winchester, Virginia, and he's opening up an arcade. And so he's been buying, you've heard me talk about this before, he's been buying a bunch of arcade machines, and I've been helping him, you know, fix some of them and what have you. All right, there we go. The old joystick is out. Yeah, so look how dirty, filthy that is. Well, those switches look okay though. So I'm not going to throw this away because I can always reuse some parts of this, the housing and whatever. So we'll put that over here. And yeah, this is kind of warped and twisted, and it doesn't have It doesn't have a sticker on it, but what's interesting is these really are the same joystick, if you can see that. They got the integrated dust washer. One thing that's interesting is this is branded in the plastic as Coin Controls. It says Coin Controls Inc., Elk Grove, Illinois, made in USA. And that's the only marking I could see. This one doesn't have that on the top, but underneath it has a sticker to that effect. So we're going to keep the sticker facing up so we know what kind of joystick we have. So let me just work this into here and line it up. So yeah, Mark often is, he's got a couple of ads posted. It's got to go like that. He's got some ads posted, and he has people reaching out to him to sell their stuff. I'm actually just going to disconnect all of these wires too. All right, let's disconnect all the buttons, just get these wires out of the way. I am gonna, come on. I am gonna remove these buttons to get them cleaned up. Just one less thing to worry about. All right, and I'll remove these too. There is technically a wrench that I still haven't bought. Let me get a adjustable wrench here. But anyway, so Mark has these ads, and people reach out to him when they're selling stuff. And so these are kind of like private sales. These are not necessarily posted anywhere on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or what have you. So he has his own ads posted, and people respond to those. So sellers come to him, and this doesn't want to. The button wants to keep moving with this plastic pal nut. So anyway, sellers come to him, and there's a couple of cabinets. Mark lives, I don't know, about an hour away from me, and there's a couple of cabinets. So each of these buttons has a little label, sort of shroud around it. And there's a seller that reached out to him with a couple of cabinets. They're about an hour and a half away from me, and Mark was kind of debating whether or not to get them. It's not really something exactly that he wants. But now I am scheduled to go pick this thing up tomorrow at noon. So I'm debating. I want to do a cap kit. I don't know if it's going to be tonight. So you really are not going to have an opportunity to tell me, because this is all happening in the future. So yeah, I'm going to be hopefully picking up a couple of cabinets tomorrow for a great price. These are a couple of interesting ones. One I might use as a parts cabinet, and the other one is definitely something that I'm going to want to restore to something kind of interesting. But anyway, I don't want to jinx myself. So yeah, we'll see if I want to do a cap kit tonight, because I also need to edit the video and get it all ready. So let me fight with these and get these buttons off, and then we can bolt this joystick back in place. Okay, I've got all the buttons off, and I'm actually going to soak them. This is just a plastic bin. It's equal parts hot water and simple green. So I'm just going to throw everything in there to soak a little bit. And let's see, all of the little button label apron things. This one doesn't want to come off. That's weird. All right, some of these buttons, they don't seem to necessarily match. There's two different shades of blue, and one of them is a different sort of button style, like where the micro switch attaches. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I'm not sure if these are replacement buttons for some reason, or it's possible. I mean, it's possible that the factory was just kind of lazy and used what they had on hand. But we'll get all this stuff off. Come on. And soaking. Come on. And they use these sort of button labels in lieu of having a printed control panel overlay that had instructions and what the buttons were, right? Because this is just I don't want to break this thing. This is just a generic control panel used by a bunch of Data East games. So rather than printing anything on the control panel, they had these little apron surround things. And this one I just can't quite get off. There we go. Did it without breaking it. So yeah, so you can see two different shades of blue. This is I don't know, this is like a darker, richer blue. I don't know, sky blue, navy blue type of thing. And one of them even, so like these two match, right? And these two are the same shade, but they have a different way of mounting the leaf switch or the micro switch. And I couldn't even get it without taking it off. So it kind of goes on here, like it wouldn't come off of the control panel with the micro switch intact. And it kind of slides on like that, right? So one would be vertical and the other one would be horizontal. So anyway, we don't want to put the micro switches themselves in the bath. So, and these kind of come apart relatively easily. You can see they got these little arms here. So you sort of squeeze these together. And I might need to use my needle nose pliers for that. We squeeze them together and they will pass through these little slots. Don't break it, Charlie. There we go. And you just pull it apart like that, take the screw out, and throw everything in there. So I'll do that for all of these. We'll get all the pieces off, get it all soaking. I'll let this soak for 20, 30 minutes. And then I'll take it all out, scrub it with an old toothbrush, rinse them off, let them dry completely, put them back together, and we'll be ready to put them onto the cabinet. All right, a couple more weird things. Let me just show you with these buttons. Again, these are kind of a hodgepodge. Different buttons, the leaf switches mount in different ways. Like this one, it's a vertical, but it has these two sort of legs that grab onto the micro switch, kind of hold in place. Yeah, did I say leaf switch? Not leaf switch. So you got to sort of pry them apart like this to pull the micro switch out, and then you come in with your needle nose pliers, if you can kind of get it, and sort of, don't even need them, sort of squeeze them together to pull that whole contraption out, throw the pieces in there. And then some of these have a screw sort of holding the micro switch in place. So come in here, unscrew it, and it's just a screw that holds that micro switch there. So pull that out, don't lose the screw. There we go. And then you should be able to just pull the micro switch out. It's a little tight fit, but there we go. So that's how you do that. And then you can squeeze your tabs together and they will come right out. Like, come right out. There we go. All right, so I'm going to let these soak. I'll finish all of them, let them soak, and then we'll be ready to, I'll clean them, put them back together and all that. All right, buttons are all cleaned up. I got everything put back together, mounted into the control panel. I got everything wired back up, and I actually put the whole thing back together because this is as far as we're going to get tonight. So I decided after all, even though I do want to replace all the capacitors and install a new cap kit, in this case 7000 monitor, we are not going to do it tonight. And it's not just because it's 15 degrees outside and the garage is back under freezing. It's not just because it's midnight and I need to get this video out and get to bed. It's not just because I'm picking up those two cabinets tomorrow. It's also because no matter what, I am going to have to do another episode to get this, cabinet totally done. I tried peeling, like I mentioned, the bezel. It was sort of stuck on this this plastic plexi bezel, and you can kind of tell it is stuck on hard, and it is just completely ripping off. So this bezel, I can't even clean the plastic because this cardboard on is just sort of trash. So I went ahead and ordered that used one that I found online. The used one was actually cheaper than the only reproductions I could find online, so that's great. And it looks to be in really good shape, so we'll have that arriving soon enough. And also this overlay is really starting to crack, like on this bend, like it's coming up, and like I can press on it and crack it. The other thing I did that I kind of really screwed up, and you can't quite tell, is these little button labels. most of the writing has come off. They sort of, I don't know if it was a simple green or the hot water just sort of made the printing come off. So I'm going to figure out something to do, maybe get like transparent, reverse printed, labels from a label maker, like clear with white printing, reverse printed. I don't know if that's even possible. I'll figure something out to get these labeled again. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter all that much. This is really just going to be a garage game. I'm still trying to find a new marquee. The cabinet needs a little bit of work. But everything works, all the buttons work. I tried it all out. So yeah, so stay tuned for a future episode where I cap the monitor and install a new marquee and a new bezel. And maybe that'll be a little bit more cleanup. But this is not going to be perfect. And I know everyone restores cabinets differently, and I try not to go overboarding. I'm not looking for museum pieces, but definitely something like this, I don't want to put too much effort and too much money into something that's just not really worth it. Like I said, my goal with this is just to have a decent garage game, not something that I'll have featured in my lineup downstairs. But yeah, I want to thank you for watching. I think I'll wrap it up here. Get this video out and pick up those games tomorrow. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Maybe buy some merch, become a channel member. I really appreciate all of your support. As always, thanks for watching Overtime Arcade. I'm Charlie, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!